to Withum's video series, The Alternative Route. Here with me today is Sarah Kornhaber, founder of Capital Talent LLC. Sarah, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Colleen.
So Capital Talent offers fractional HR support for financial services firms. And to me, that's a little bit of a newer area in the suite of outsourced services for alternative investment funds. So let's talk a little bit about some of the areas you're helping investment firms and what you're seeing there.
Absolutely. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So how can fractional HR support help investment managers scale efficiently without having to add unnecessary overhead?
Sure. There's a variety of ways: agility, adaptability, on-demand specialization. To kind of go through each of those. Agility. Traditional HR models are really usually too rigid or too expensive for a lean investment firm. Engaging with fractional HR support will give you the HR expertise without the burden of a full-time HR staff, giving you exactly what you need when you need it. Adaptability. Imagine having a dedicated team solely focused on your employees that can expand during crucial growth phases, performance reviews, what have you, and then contract when things are a little bit slower. On-demand specialization. You might be going through a growth phase and you're hiring, or you want to implement a new compensation framework, or you're just navigating day-to-day compliance. Capital Talent can really flex with the needs of the business as your firm evolves over time. So keeping your internal operations cohesive, your team can then focus on what they want to focus on, which is most likely revenue generation. With Capital Talent, we offer a right-sized HR function. It's sophisticated, it's scalable, and it's steeped in the nuances of running a business in financial services. So the result to you, it's lean operations, regulatory confidence, and just more time spent where it counts, managing and growing your business.
We definitely see that, I think, right, outsourced for as people are, starting out and building up and for in various stages of their life cycle. So let's talk a little bit about, why do job descriptions help investment firms and how does it mitigate any operational or compliance risk?
Yeah, this is a good one. I love this one. First and foremost, job descriptions are a great vehicle to offer clarity to your team. So it communicates expectations, black and white. Everybody knows exactly what's required of them to do their job and do it well. But as we all know, from time to time, teammates don't work out. So when that happens, a great job description then pivots and becomes a risk mitigation tool. So a well-structured job description isn't just a hiring or management tool. It then becomes protection. Clear expectations help to reduce role ambiguity, help to prevent compliant gaps, and really just support sound decision-making. If you have an employee dispute, especially like an involuntary termination situation, a strong job description becomes your first line of defense because it anchors expectations and responsibilities that have been communicated to the employee. So it's also audit-ready documentation. To have that is crucial. We all hope that an audit's not going to come our way, but you need to be prepared if it does. Regulators are going to expect a very high level of clarity for all roles, whether it's a supervisory role or otherwise. A vague, ambiguous job description can start to raise red flags with a regulator. And let's be honest, no one wants to deal with that. At Capital Talent, we'll perform a full job description audit that can start to flag risk-prone language or outdated responsibilities. So it's a really impactful way to improve your operational resiliency and stay ahead of the curve.
Makes sense. So, from that perspective, I guess, what are some of the common hiring mistakes you see investment managers making? And, are there ways they could be thinking about how to avoid them?
Yeah. Great question. Thank you. I love this one. Cultural misfit. Oftentimes, firms will prioritize technical abilities, and that can happen at the expense of culture because you have someone who's got this great technical expertise, but their values might not align. And so your productivity and retention will then begin to suffer. You can have process gaps. It's human nature to default to instinct when taking someone through the hiring process. If you don't have a hiring rubric or consistent scoring, your interviews become completely subjective. And that begins to open up the door to bias and misalignment. Implementing something like a scorecard or a hiring rubric into your interview process will really help offer a level playing field for your candidates. You could also damage the candidate experience. If you rush a recruiting process, or there's poor communication or unclear expectations, that could potentially damage your firm's brand. And that really becomes problematic with high caliber candidates. You never know where a candidate could end up. They could be a prospect one day. So you want to ensure every candidate has an amazing experience. They felt they were treated respectfully, because that candidate could one day be sitting on the other side of a negotiating table from you. And you want to make sure that they have great things to say about you, regardless of the hiring outcome. Capital Talent's approach to hiring, we work to build very intentional end-to-end hiring strategies that are anchored in thoughtful assessments and well-structured interviews to drive cohesion. It's not about filling a role, it's about building a powerhouse team for your firm.
Those are great points. So what role does onboarding play when you're retaining high-performing employees when you see it in the investment management area?
Yeah, this is a good one. It's usually underestimated. And really, if you can give a new hire a faster ramp up time, time is money. Structured onboarding will equip your revenue generating hires to start to deliver value to your firm faster. And also at the same time, it really starts to prevent early churn. If you think about it, the first 90 days of an employee's experience can really shape the trajectory of the employee's time at a firm. A strong onboarding experience can help set expectations, clarify purpose, and just make someone feel welcomed. So if you think about it this way, a new hire shows up on their first day and they don't have a computer or access to the drives or systems they need to do their job. They're inclined to feel a little bit neglected and like a bit of an afterthought. If you take the extra time to map out that agenda for the first day, for the first week, and meetings to happen over the first 90 days, it will pay dividends in the long run, because it really starts to set the tone for an amazing, highly engaged employee experience. It builds on that emotional connection. So employees feel welcomed, they feel appreciated, they feel like they're empowered and prepared and connected to the purpose of the firm, so they stay longer and perform better.
It speaks to your point too about, culture, right? Like that sets the tone for the culture in those first days for them.
Yeah, it really does. So at Capital Talent, we really like to try to build onboarding experiences that kind of go above and beyond the check the box, like, have you completed your compliance training? Of course, that's important, but infusing culture, delivering feedback loops, creating a structure that will reinforce your firm's value will give, a higher level of retention, engagement, and ultimately performance, which is really where it all comes to life.
Makes sense. You mentioned a little earlier about regulators and obviously in the investment area that's a concern. With increasing scrutiny, how can investment managers ensure that their HR practices are really aligning with the compliance requirements there are?
Yeah, it's so important, because it's not just what's legal, it's your reputation. Regardless of whether it's pay equity, performance documentation, HR missteps can create liabilities that really can extend beyond fines, impacting LP confidence and your business's valuation. So you want to ensure you have that level of protection. Regulatory, so policies, protocols, things that were acceptable 3 years ago now can raise red flags. So staying current on what's expected of you as an employer, it's not optional, it's essential. You need an HR infrastructure that's defensible, scalable, and audit ready. That'll give you the confidence to focus on deploying capital and knowing that your people side of the operations is as buttoned up as it can be.
Makes sense. This has all been really helpful and insightful. I appreciate you taking the time to join me today. And stay tuned for our next episode of The Alternative Route.
Thanks, Colleen.